This is going to be a conversation about a game that is really been in the works for a very long time, going through different iterations. It's picking up quite nicely. It's something that works in various online and offline formats, and it's called CombatKanga. And it's very fun, and I think we're going to find this quite enjoyable. Neil, so nice to see you again. Welcome.
Thank you. Nice to see you again.
So tell us a little bit about how it started and where it's going, and what should everybody know about this? Because I think that you've really poured your heart and soul into this game, and it does have some NFT utilitarian. It's an in-game utilitarian product that's part of the game itself. So it's really taking that NFT to the next level, which we always knew that the NFTs would have utility, but you're finally really taking it across the goal line. So yeah, please tell us a little more.
So let me just start right from the start, because I think that will make a lot of sense as to how it came to be. I've been a gamer for all my life. I used to play different card games and tactical games, and I was like, this CombatKanga could be a strategic card game where kangaroos are battling each other. So I got into researching what the kangaroos' lives are like, and what their predators would be in the wild. They don't really have many, but what they do is they have dingoes and they have eagles. So the dingoes and the eagles, the dingoes will attack their young, and so will the eagles, because eagles are obviously quite a strong bird. So they've made their way into the game as well as the dingoes are kind of like an easily manipulatable class, because they're a little bit thick, but they're a little bit dumb. Sorry, but they're very, very tactical. They use utility all around them. They're very cunning, just like a dog would be. Whereas the eagles are quite prissy. They're very delicate but strong. If you hit a bird, you'll break its wing, but it's equally, if you can't get at it, it will really hurt you. So the three castes are like the noble kangaroos, which they can take a beating. They've got a lot of health. You've got the dingoes, which use utility as part of their way of fighting. So they're clever. So they're more of like a utility class, you could say. And then you've got the eagles, which are very weak, but they're very powerful. It's a story of like like magic almost, but not full on. So we're pulling in from the Mortal Kombat, where people can, fire fireballs out of their hands and ice and things like that. So essentially, the short story is Kangalee is part of a mythical tribe of kangaroos that all had special powers, but those powers have been subdued over time. And where Kangalee is imprisoned, they know how to subdue those powers. So once he leaves the island, his powers start to return, and he meets a wise Kanga called Laken, who knows the ways. He's actually one of these mythical Kangas as well. So he ends up training Lee, and there's a whole battle that commences between the Kangas, the dingoes, and the eagles. And the whole story is written over 3 books, so 3 novels, novel-length books. We've written the first book as a first draft. It's about 25 to 30,000 words, I think. Can't remember the exact. And we had it all voice recorded. So some of that is on CombatKanga.com. You can listen to it. So that kind of helps to underpin the project. It's not just like an idea. It's way more than just an idea. It's now turning into something more of a franchise, So you can see that on YouTube, and that's like the strategic game where we want people to build decks of cards. They have to be strategic in the cards that they place in their deck, and then they're playing against other players. So you're playing against their tactics versus your tactics, and we want that to be a semi-professional sort of game, where, because some of these games they turn into professional leagues. It's not just a game anymore. These things turn into something way bigger than that. And then we have I guess you could say a smaller game. So this is the game where you can pick up and put down if you've got 5 minutes to spare, or 20 minutes to spare. That game's called the 1 Inch Punch. So that's where the NFTs come into play. So every card inside of the 1 Inch Punch, there's one NFT that can be minted that represents each card. Now, many players can have that card. So let's say it's Kanga Lee. Me and you can both have Kanga Lee in our cards. However, only one person can own the NFT of Kanga Lee. And the point of the 1-inch punch is it's a quick battling game. So it's a bit like a game here in the UK called Top Trumps. So each card has got stats, so health, ability, agility, things like that. And essentially, you flip a coin. Whoever wins the coin toss gets to pick the stat first. So if I say health 50 and you say, my health is 60, you win that round. It's really quick. So you can play this game just to pass some time. The winners get points. With the points, you can then purchase packs of cards for either game. So you'll be able to purchase packs of cards for the 1-inch punch game, or you'll be able to buy packs of cards for the Way of the Poor game. But the Kanga points are just like the internal currency that you win by just playing the game, you know. So we also have a physical version of the game as well. Now, this is only a prototype. I got 30 packs made up, but it's just to show that it's not just a digital game. We want this to be a physical game as well, along with the story, you know, because that's a book. You can print it out. You can go and buy it from a bookshop. We want the cards to be physical too. So we had some cards made up. I'm not too sure if you'll be able to see them on the camera, but they come in a nice little box, and then each of the cards they're actually made of plastic, so they're very durable. But the cards, these are the initial design. Now the game's going through some changes, so the newer versions of the cards will reflect the newer version of the artwork and the rules of the game, because it's slightly changed. But yeah, so we're open to all different types of verticals. We want it to be digital. We want it to be physical. We want the book sales. You know, it leans itself to animation and cartoons, merchandise. It's heavily geared to. I don't want to say we're copying Pokemon, because we're not. But if you look at Pokemon and what it can do, and how children and young people interact with it, you know, to see a plush of all the different Kangas and of the story and all the different characters, because they're cute, right? And they look different. Kangaroos, dingoes, and eagles. This whole thing could be quite a big franchise. At least that's what I'm gunning for. You know, it's not just about games.
Neil, if you are to win your game, is there an award that makes your game maybe a new character, or you get points, or you become stronger for the next battle? What is it that you win if you do win that battle with that particular game you opened up?
Yeah, so every game you play, you'll win some points. We call them Kanga points for now internally. So the Kanga points are essentially something that you accumulate. What the Kanga points allow you to do is either buy new cards, so new packs of cards for Kanga points, or you can buy boosters. What the boosters do is they essentially they improve the attributes on the card. Some of these boosts are temporary in nature, some of them are permanent in nature. But essentially, if you've got a card that you really like, but its health is low, because the attributes for each card are random. So they're random within a range, but they're random nonetheless. So if you've got a gold card, the chances are that the attributes for that card are going to be relatively high because it's gold and it's weighted in that direction. But it's not a guarantee. So one of your stats might be lower than you'd like it, so you can boost it. So you can apply up to 10 boosts to each card. But every time you apply a boost onto an attribute, it's of diminishing return. So if the first point will give you the most amount of boost, and the last point will give you the least amount of boost. But if you only want to boost, say, health, you could whack all 10 of the boost points on health to maximize what you can get in health. If you're boosting a stat that's already towards the highest of its category, the amount of boosts you can put on that is limited. So you can't ever go too far out of the realms of what the maximum is. So I think it's 30% is the number that we're using right now. So if 100 was maximum, the maximum boosted value would be 130. So that's how we do it. But the idea of the points is that they go towards a league as well. So every game that you play, there's a league, and the league is actually where the Web3 component comes in. So it's where the NFTs are introduced. So you don't have to be a Web3 person to play this game. You can just play this game as Web2. You don't need to know anything about NFTs at all. But every single card is unique. So me and you can both own the same Kanga card, but only one person can have the minted version of it. So if we decide, or you decide you've got the NFT of it now, you want to mint that on the XRPL. So now Kanga is owned by the XRPL. So you as the owner of the NFT, if Kanga is ever in a game and it's a winning game, you will get boosted points based off the fact that you own the NFT of that card and he was in a winning battle. Those points go to you, but also they go to your league. So we call it the Cinder Block League. So the Cinder Block League is per blockchain. So there'll be Team XRPL, there'll be Team Zahao, there's Team Solana. And what the idea is if Kanga is a really good card and he seems to be in lots of winning matches, what we want is them to be like, well, the XRPL own Kanga. We want people from another chain to want to have Kanga, like a transfer. So the NFTs are burnable and reissuable, but it can only ever be one of them, and they can only ever be on one chain. So what we want our Team Solana to say, why are we losing to Team XRPL? We need Kanga. So someone from Solana will be making an offer to whoever owns the NFT in the XRPL world to have it moved over. Now, there's a set amount of characters per blockchain. There's 8,000 per blockchain. So for this to work, the way that it happens is each NFT is in a chain originally. So the XRPL will get 8,000 characters. We'll just use Solana for argument's sake. Solana will get a different 8,000 characters. And you can't have more characters in your blockchain than you have minted. Now, this might sound complicated, but it's not supposed to be. So if the XRPL has only minted 100 of their cards, their league will only ever have 100 players in it. Now, if they want to buy a card from Solana, they can do that, but they have to sacrifice one of the 100 that they've got.
Oh, I see.
So it's a trade. So it's a trade which could be monetary in value, or it could be just you just want to trade the card for trading its sake.
So you could swap for free, or you could swap for points, maybe, right?
Yeah, well, it could even be in crypto, right? So there'll be a marketplace to facilitate these trades. So if you want to buy the NFT, if I want to buy Kanga and I'm on Solana, I can offer you, I don't know, whatever XRP for it, or whatever, however which way I want to do the trade. We'll facilitate the trading in the marketplace anyway, so you won't necessarily have to worry about managing wallets and all that sort of stuff. We'll make that as easy a process as we can. But that's the idea of the Web3 component. We want that to be, as I say, the Cinder Block League, and we want it to be quite competitive, because it's fun. And it's a way for people who want to own and trade NFTs to have that part of the game, but we can do it in a way that it doesn't mean that the whole game is focused on NFTs, because it's not. It's a sub game, I guess you could say, or a Web3 version of the game that's already being played in Web2. So it's about because I don't like the idea of it being blockchain only, because frankly there's just not enough of us. So any project, in my opinion, needs to be open to Web2. So we call it Web 2.5 because you don't need to be interested in Web3 at all to play this game. But if you are, there's something fun for you too. And it might just convert some people that don't know anything about Web3 and blockchain into actually doing it, actually creating a wallet. And that hopefully will be from the fun that the Cinderblock League will create. So what's the purpose of the Cinderblock League? What do you win? Well, you just win points. So for being the NFT owners, you'll get some more points, which means you can have more packs of cards, which means you can play the game with a wider array of characters. So everything we do circulates the points so that you'll play the game more. That's what we want. Now you can buy these packs of cards in fiat, you can buy them in crypto, or you can buy them in points. So anyone can buy them in any which way they wish. Along with the 8,000 characters on each blockchain, there is actually a currency called Kanga Fuel. So Kanga Fuel is our nod to Web3 to say, well, if you want to use crypto instead of fiat, you can use Kanga Fuel. So you can buy Kanga Fuel on the chain that the NFTs are on. So in the XRPO, you can buy the Kanga Fuel token. Now, we are selling that token at the minute, it's half an XRP. That's what we're selling at. But the reason the token exists is if you use the token, the current spot value of that token, so let's say it was $1, right, for a token, we will accept that token at up to 50% less than the fiat price. So if the fiat price of a pack of cards is $1.99 and a Kanga Fuel on the XRPL is worth $1, it will be one Kanga Fuel instead of $1.99. And again, that's just more of a nod to the Web3 communities, because tokens, people are interested in having them, owning them, collecting them. It's purely to do with buying stuff from the CombatKanga universe, though. So in the future, we may depending on how we can do it, we can offer it in the physical world too, potentially. Maybe you could buy a book with it, for example. But right now, it's just for the digital purchases. And each blockchain will have its own currency. So we're not saying that they're supposed to be equal in value. They are worth what they're worth on each chain. But when you come to use the token, we will always take its spot price and say, whatever your discount is, if it's 50%, we'll take it at spot price and say, okay, well, if you want to pay in Kanga Fuel on Solana, it might be 5 Kanga Fuels. But if you want to use XRP one and it's worth more, then you can, be less Kanga Fuel. There's no bridging between the two. We're not trying to do that. We're just saying that each blockchain's community can have their own set of NFTs with their own token, and it just lives within that box. They're not supposed to be, the tokens anyway, they're not supposed to be traded against each other. So we're not doing any bridges. If bridges end up being created by other people, well, we can't control that.
Yeah.
But we won't do that. So that's the point of the token. So right now, that's the token's available on the XRPL. That's been there for years.
Neil, I have a question. Is there a leaderboard, or can I see how I rank against other players within the chain?
Yes. So the Cinderblock League is against other chains, but also internally against your fellow holders. So this again is more of the Web3 side of things. So you've got the Web2 side, which is just basically every game, and they're in their weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annually. There's a league that runs. It's got every game. You can get those games though, and then just say that any of them have got NFT card holders in them. Those will have their own little sub league of the NFT owners are basically competing against each other within that league.
How many NFTs on a team typically?
So each team would be a blockchain. So each blockchain is 8,000.
Okay, I got that. Then within those 8,000, if I own, let's say 20, am I an owner of a team within that league on a blockchain?
Not currently, no. So you're just responsible for those 20 players.
I see. Okay.
So
all right. So almost like
get. Sorry.
Well, it sounds like then we're almost very similar to the structure you find in sumo here in Japan. So each stable competes, they compete against each other, but they're collectively all part of the same association. But some stables might have 30 sumo wrestlers, and some may only have 10 sumo wrestlers, but they all actively compete and participate in the association, if you will.
Yeah, it's actually, I don't know anything about sumo, but it sounds similar. So you could be a stable owner in this instance, right? So you've got 20 Kangas, and they're your 20 Kangas. Whenever they battle, you get their points, and you're represented by the Kangas that you own.
Sounds exactly the way sumo is set up. And so if the stable has some really great wrestlers, they get a lot of media attention. And so there's a lot of things they get when they have a big winning team, a stable it's called, of wrestlers.
Yeah, I mean, who knows where that type of idea can go? We're still early days in terms of fleshing out some of the ideas, because we have our initial ideas of what we want to do. That doesn't mean that's what's going to happen in 6, 9, 12 months' time when these things start to mature. So, the concept of turning an NFT owner into like a sumo wrestler here, a sumo wrestler stable owner, it's got some parallels. Maybe that's something we should explore, because it may well be the case that, who knows, right? If you own the NFT of Kanga Lee and he's the only NFT, well, then there might be something of worth there to you, or as a thing to market, because Kanga Lee is like the best player in CombatKanga. Who knows? I'm not going to suggest there would be any sponsorships or anything like that, but I don't know where that could go, right? But it obviously doesn't have the same parallels as in real life. People aren't going to fall in love with Kanga Lee and follow his battles around, right? That's not going to happen. But there's people do like games characters, and they do have their favourites and they have their nemesises. So yeah, who knows? But essentially, it's a bit of a solo thing for you. You're the best or the most successful NFT owner within your blockchain. Then that gives you whatever credence that gives you.
So now that you've come back and reactivated this in a big time way with a lot of focus, there's some changes that have occurred on the website. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. So the old website was focused purely on the XRPL, and you could mint your NFTs of the Kangas there. We've stopped the website now because we've had to rethink what we were doing before. So the website as it is now is more of a description of what we've done and where we're going, because with time you get to think about what it is you were trying to achieve, what didn't quite work well, maybe you rushed something, right? So on the website now you can see, as I say, the progress that we've made. You can listen to the story, and you can read about the new version of the 1-inch punch, which is the single and eight pack modes, as well as like the history of where we've been. The reason we took down the old site was because we're going to be converting the cards, the NFTs, from the original ones that we did to the new ones. The reason we're doing the conversion is they didn't sit well with the game. For example, the amount of gold cards, silver cards, metal cards, they weren't weighted correctly. So to go into a game like that, you would end up just having far too many gold cards in circulation. So the games would essentially just be gold cards versus gold cards. So the whole thing didn't actually work that well. It didn't matter originally because the NFTs were just the artwork. They were just the Kangas. So the big change that we've made now is that it's not the artwork anymore. The NFT is actually the game card. So you are now the owner of Kanga Lee, as we've just said. So the website now explains what that process is going to be, why we're burning the old NFTs and reissuing them. But interestingly enough, a conversation came up about that. So there's a grace period. So any NFT that was minted originally on the XRPL, you'll be able to burn it and reissue it as a equivalent NFT on the an equivalent NFT in the new collection. And we use XP for that. So if your card's XP was high, you'll be offered a card that's relatively the same height in terms of its value of XP. But you don't have to do that. And it will be interesting to see how many people do that versus don't do that. Because the old NFTs aren't going anywhere. They still live on the blockchain. And the conversation went, well, can you, if CombatKanga becomes what we want it to become, a successful franchise with hopefully lots and lots of players, the NFTs as they are today will form the prototype. And those will have their own collection or collector's value, because they'll be the ones that we originally did, and people have still hung on to, versus some people that didn't and they burnt them because they want the new card. So it will be interesting to see what happens to the supply. How much does it go down? Does it go down at all? Are people just not interested in Birmingham and they just want to just go and get the new NFTs? So yeah, there's a whole conversation about what will happen to the original NFTs. But essentially what will happen officially is there will be a period in time that you're allowed to burn it in favor of another card. Once that time period has lapsed, you will no longer be able to do that, and then the sale of those NFTs will become live, so that you can just start to buy the NFTs like you would any other type of NFT. So yeah, so that's what's going on with the website right now. And the reason we took down the old website was to stop new NFTs from being minted. So you can't now mint any of the original ones anymore. So I think there's like two to 3,000 of them minted out of the 8,000 Kangas and 8,000 Dingoes that we did. Yeah, there's only a couple of thousand actually on the ledger. So there's not actually that many.
So where do I go to mint this if I want to participate and give the game a try?
So right now you can't. So the minting has stopped because we're doing this migration. We're looking at ways that we can reissue the Kanga NFTs. We don't want to do it on our website straight away. We may use a marketplace to do this. Likewise, we're thinking of adding Solana as the next first blockchain that is a competitor blockchain. But we do actually have a number of different chains that we want to go for. So there's other chains that are more game specific that we want to go to. So like Gala chain, Immutable chain, and Myra. So they're very heavy on gaming. So we want to get those in as well. But once we've got a few blockchains in there, you'll be able to mint those on wherever the best place is to get those types of NFTs. So for Solana, there'll be a Solana marketplace. You can go there. Of course, we're looking at doing it on our own website as well. But it's difficult to sell to an audience if there's no one there. So we want to make them available on whatever the marketplaces are for each chain, as well as our website. But that won't be yet. That's hopefully by the end of the year, but not yet. If you want an NFT right now, the only ones you can get are the ones on the XRP app. So you can go to XRP Cafe or wherever you want to go to get the current ones. We want the community to start engaging. If you were to own one of the current NFTs, you have the choice to convert that into an NFT when the new work is ready. However, as we just discussed, they may not want to do so. They may want to keep that NFT because if the project picks up and people start to play it, you will own one of the original pre-release NFTs, one of the prototypes that we did, because arguably that's what it will turn into. Because it doesn't have the utility of the game, you need the card NFT for that. But if you have the original NFT of, say, Kanga Lee, you've got the original version of what Kanga Lee looked like. It should look very similar when we redo it, although we are improving the artwork somewhat. But you'll have like the prototype version. So to own the current NFTs, you can trade them in for the new ones, or you could hold them as the original CombatKangas.
Neil, if people want to follow the progress and get involved and watch this game unfold, where on socials are the best place to follow you?
Well, it's X and it's Discord. They're by far the easiest places to go. Discord is more responsive to us because obviously we can have an easier conversation in Discord than we can on X. But yeah, if you go to CombatKanga.com or CombatKanga.com, you'll see the socials. They're linked in there. But mainly Discord is where you'll want to go because that's where the community can start to interact with each other. So yes, thanks for the time to chat. It's good to get some of this information out of my head and hopefully into somebody else's head. But for me, the takeaways are the rebuilding of the community and letting people know, that we're not new. We've been doing this for actually quite a while, and we've probably got a lot more than you might think. We've got the 2 games, the NFTs, physical cards, the story. It's been recorded. You can listen to it. So yeah, it's great to be talking about CombatKanga again. It's been a while, so for that, thanks for giving me the opportunity to let people know we're back.
You're welcome, Neil, and I really had a good time talking to you, as I always do. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.